have you here, rather. I can't see you, but I can see you, my companions in the Zendo room. Um, Whenever we do this full chanting service, for a while until we cover all of them, I'll be giving talks on the various chants. And tonight, I thought I'd say some things about the Heart Sutra. Tonight we'll be chanting the Heart Sutra in Sino-Japanese. So the approach to that chanting is not so much to appreciate what the meaning is, because you'll have no access to the meaning from the syllables that we'll be chanting. So I thought I would go through a bit of what the sutra is talking about, using a different translation than the one we usually chant. So tonight I'm going to share with you the translation that Kaz Tanahashi has done more recently of it. It's always helpful to consult different translations because they all reveal various subtleties and nuances, one from the other. And since we don't speak the original language, probably most of us, this is how we come to know these chants and how the teaching enters our lives. So it's always good to consult a variety of translations. The original is in Sanskrit. We chanted in Sino-Japanese and also in English, alternating one Sunday after another. When we chant in Sino-Japanese, the emphasis turns to fully attending to the sound and the feeling in the body of chanting, and the sensation of wholeheartedness, holding nothing back. And hopefully, with a few of us chanting together in the room, that will inspire you to just really hold forth. So it begins with the word Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara we know as the Bodhisattva of compassion. And really, we right off the bat start with addressing the Avalokiteshvara, who is really everything and everybody, who shows us the reality of our life. So everybody and everything in our life is Avalokiteshvara. The sutra, therefore, is speaking from the very life force itself. What comes forth moment by moment from every direction in our life is the heart of wisdom. And so we begin. I'm going to read you the translation. Avalokiteshvara. So first of all, he titles this the Sutra on the Heart of Realizing Wisdom Beyond Wisdom. Wisdom beyond wisdom, which is just a terrifically mysterious phrase. Wisdom beyond wisdom, meaning don't get too settled in one spot, because our life continues to flow. Avalokiteshvara, who helps all to awaken, moves in the deep course of realizing wisdom beyond wisdom, and sees that all 5 streams of body, heart, and mind are without boundary, and frees all from anguish. O Shariputra, who listens to the teachings of the Buddha, form is not separate from boundlessness. Boundlessness is not separate from form. Form is boundlessness. Boundlessness is form. Feelings, perceptions, inclinations, and discernment are also like this. O Shariputra, boundlessness is the nature of things. It neither arises nor perishes, neither increases nor decreases. Boundlessness is not limited by form. not by feelings, perceptions, inclinations, or discernment. It is free of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Free of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and any object in the mind. Free of sensory realms, including the realm of the mind. It is free of ignorance and the ending of ignorance. Boundlessness is free of old age and death, and free of the end of old age and death. It is free of suffering, arising, cessation, and path. No origination, no stopping, no path. And free of wisdom and attainment. In other words, not getting caught up in concepts and words. Being free of attainment, those who help all beings to awaken abide in the realization of wisdom beyond wisdom, and live with an unhindered mind. Without hindrance, the mind has no fear. Free from confusion, those who lead all to liberation embody profound serenity. All those in the past, present, and future who realize wisdom beyond wisdom manifest unsurpassable and thorough awakening. Know that realizing wisdom beyond wisdom is no other than this wondrous mantra, luminous, unequaled, and supreme. It relieves all suffering, and it's genuine, not illusory. So set forth this mantra that says, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisvaha, which is also translated, going beyond, always going beyond. Enlightenment, hail. Enlightenment, yay. That brings it into the celebratory spirit of liberation and the feeling of freedom and possibility that comes up in our lives when we are free from fear. So this is in a time of worldwide fear and threat. It's really a gift to come back to the Heart Sutra that reminds us of what is below all of the forms that are in conflict and that arouse fear in us. When we explore this teaching, we're delving into the heart of liberation, as taught by the Buddha. No matter how many times you have read this sutra and pondered it, there's always more to be seen. And what it does is it just points us right back to right here and now. It can seem quite confusing and not make much sense until we recognize that it's strategy. It's trying to express something that actually words cannot express. The heart of it cannot be expressed in words. It's talking about something that's very clear and practical, which we can experience when we give up our narrated life and meet it moment by moment. So rather than words about experience, it points beyond discrimination, beyond the separation that language insists on, beyond being separate from this world, and it aims to take us into the very direct unity of all momentary experience. When we stop, we quiet the mind and all of the energies that animate us, we can see that this moment is always complete. It's always beyond, it always unfolds beyond what we want or don't want. Well, sometimes it manifests what we want, or it manifests what we don't want. So both is and isn't. So whatever is going on is beyond our preferences and beyond our aversions, beyond the narratives that we are thinking, that we bring through the cognitive mind into this moment. Is this computing with what your experience is, I wonder? It's hard to say words about something that is essentially and importantly not a verbal truth. It's important to recognize that this sutra also is not philosophy, but is pointing us, just like a trusty friend, to where we have to look in order to experience and free ourselves. It's pointing to what is not conceptual. It's not philosophy, but it's simple and direct and very practical. And the continuous flow of reality is one thing that it's pointing to. We're always going beyond. This moment is continuous. And this brings us to the realization when we're quiet enough to really just directly look, we can realize that everything is always open. It's always in flux. And it doesn't have any end, and it doesn't have any beginning. Nothing discernible. When we think about beginnings and ends, we do that with our mind. And that has use. But it's not the fundamental truth. So really, one of the things that this is all about is, and all of Zen is about, is pointing beyond language, outside of words and letters. They are representative. They're symbolic. But we don't live a symbolic life. Not the actual experience itself. The Heart Sutra asks us to be awake to this. And it is very systematic in how it expresses it. This moment by moment awakeness. Even in the midst of our narratives. And this is something that comes up for all of us. It's like, how do I integrate a sense of the openness of everything while also engaging in the world, which is very patterned. I'm a social being. There are agreements about what our actions mean and what their intentions are, right? Even in the midst of our narrative, the true Dharma is always manifesting and can be perceived, can be appreciated in all of its vitality and its openness, even at the same time that we're engaging in the socially agreed upon narratives. We are not bound by them in our inmost sensibility. There's a line in the Precious Mirror Samadhi that says, the meaning does not reside in the words, but a pivotal moment brings it forth. That could be the title of the Heart Sutra. This life does not reside in the words, but the pivotal moment, which is continuous and constantly in flux, comes forth. But we can get so caught up in one version of our life that we totally miss what's going on. We can get lost in our miseries and not even experience the delights. I mentioned a story when we were looking into the Pure Precepts yesterday about something that happened in the middle of the night. On Friday night, I came downstairs in the dark, and as I was passing the light switch and turning on the light, I arrived at the kitchen, and there was a mouse on the counter looking right at me, and I was looking at it, and it was just such a moment of meeting, and so, I have to say, cute. It was so cute. And then, of course, it jumped around and tried to get out of there, and the poor thing. And I thought, this was everything, because I don't want to find a mouse in my house, because I'm going to have to do something about that. And at the same time, I could fully appreciate the wonder of this meeting between two very different species. So all of these, our moments are full of stuff like this, when we're really paying attention. But this is where practice comes in. When we have a life of practice, we notice moments like this, and they're remarkable, and they are intimate. I am not separate from that mouse. So there's a story that probably most of you have heard, which I just wanted to bring up again, because I think it really pertains to what the Heart Sutra is trying to wake us up to. And it's about a man who was being pursued by a tiger. And he's really trying to get out of there and running top speed away from this tiger. And the tiger's pursuing him, and he's running, and he gets to the edge, and he looks down below at this big drop-off, which in itself would be kind of rough to jump off of. But down below is a tiger. But the tiger behind is gaining on him, so he jumps, and as he's going down, there's a root, and he grabs onto the root and notices. So he stops, and there's a tiger above, and there's a tiger below, and he notices that there's a black mouse and a white mouse nibbling at the root, right? So the root is only going to hold for so long, and there is no escape. But another thing that happens right there is he notices that there's a very ripe strawberry, a beautiful little white, ripe strawberry, which he picks and he plucks in his mouth, and it is delicious. It's delicious. So this is really a story about our lives. We're running away from that tiger. We are not going to escape forever from the tiger. Sooner or later, we're going to land. It's going to get us. But on the way, there are many delicious tastes. There are many remarkable moments. So partly the story is about the first noble truth, which is the truth of suffering and difficulty. That's the first noble truth. And we may think that if we do our practice and we become completely enlightened, somehow in some kind of magical way, it will dissolve the first noble truth. But as a human, the human condition is difficult. We live in a world that has all kinds of things going on and all kinds of challenges. We're always running, even if we know this, the tendency is to run away. Or we're running towards something else. We have plans, we have schemes. And there's no, as long as that, I mean, the teachings in this tradition say that running away from, running toward, is not going to bring us peace and a feeling of fulfillment. So the Heart Sutra is pointing at the same thing. The suffering that stems from our body, our sensations, our senses, our perceptions, our thoughts and concepts, and all of our karmic tracings. Consciousness is like the collective consciousness, all of the things that we carry forward that's way out of our access, and yet influences our choices and the way that we process and order our experience. All of this, and we seem so separate from things. The self and things outside the self and the world appear so separate. Even while, at the same time, everything is proclaiming its nature. So if we free our mind from all these misperceptions and misconceptions, then there's no suffering. But it reminds us there's also no ending of suffering. And there's no cause, and there's also no path, even while we're practicing the path. And there's no attainment. So why are we doing it? There's neither goodness nor badness. There's neither good nor evil. These polarities don't exist until we create them. That's another angle that this is pointing out. The Buddha realm is the realm where we don't create polarities. Do you have access to that? Do you have access to that, even while life goes on as it always has? We can realize the Bodhisattva way in our own little lives, even while we experience the suffering of samsara. This is actually the basis for compassion. I don't know how compassionate I would feel if I did not already know all the realms of suffering for myself in my own life. But another meaning of compassion is truth. That what is true is compassion. And what pulls us to realize the truth is compassionate, even if it doesn't seem that way at the time. What brings most of us to practice is suffering and difficulties. So that's a different angle. And suffering is not only physical and psychological pain, but it's also a sense of meaningless effort. I have a friend who struggles, who's very wise, who's been practicing his whole life. And his koan is, what does this mean? What is the meaning of my life? Why have I expended so much effort and still don't have a sense of meaning? You know, that's really a great example of how cognition can get in the way of freedom. And what is the sense of meaning? I mean, that's a beautiful thing to look into in our practice. What is it when I have a sense of meaning, when I have a sense of fulfillment? What is that? What makes that? So it's ironic that we talk about, you know, here Kaz's translation is boundlessness, but we also talk about emptiness. We could also say fullness. And both of them are not the actual, but describe well the situation. Empty, changing, aggregate, full of form, always form emerging and changing. So when we position ourselves in relation to the narrative that we're living, that we're running from the tiger. And when we pop that strawberry in our mouth, we're experiencing the freedom from the tiger. Because at that moment, everything is strawberry. Any moment can be terrifying or it can be amazing. It can be perfect. It can be poignant. It can be tragic. It can be frustrating, depending on the narrative. And I know that mostly everybody here has worked a lot with your narratives. There's always there's a way to recast. And that fact is similar to what the Heart Sutra is getting at. we can leap beyond good and evil and transform the basis of our life from egocentricity, which is a definite, full narrative of self that aligns with our senses and our perceptions and everything else. So that can be the basis of our life, that is the basis, but then there's also egolessness. And in every moment, we must awaken again to the impermanent reality of our lives. So we're always in both. We're always both, in both. We're caught in samsara and some lasting narrative, or we're waking up and living according to the way of transformation, always at the same time. This last line, a bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita. A bodhisattva relies on wisdom beyond wisdom. Prajna is wisdom. Paramita is the perfection of wisdom. Relying on the wisdom, the true character, the true nature of each moment. Always going along and crossing to the other side, to the other shore. Always going beyond. We call this the Bodhisattva way. So the Bodhisattvas awaken with all beings. So what does that mean in our own direct experience? What is the meaning of that? When I am fully present in this moment, how are all beings fully present in this moment? It's a really interesting koan. Because sometimes it's really obvious. And sometimes it's just something that the mind has to chew on and think about and name. Well, all beings have made up this moment in my life, and all of the beings from the garden that I ate for lunch, and so we can go into both the cognitive description, but also the direct perception that when you're really awake and alive, the world is awake and alive. It's directly true. And in this body, in this life, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. Especially when you start Dharma practice. Once you start, good luck giving it up. Once that question has arisen, the process is underway of awakening. And that usually happens unbidden and sometimes very early in our lives. And still we run and we run away and we run away until finally part of it is you just kind of get sick of running away and you say, okay, well, let's see. What can I see here? Or you have an experience of meditating, and you just have this wonderful moment of feeling so fresh and so relieved, even though there's no way to understand what that feeling is. I mean, I certainly had that the first time I sat down on a cushion. It was, oh yeah, this. So that's like a juicy strawberry. And my wish for all of us is that we sit regularly, we sit with great faith and enjoy the various strawberries that come our way as we do so in our life, moment by moment, by moment, by moment, by moment. Thank you.
To begin service, please rise for 3 bows. Please remain standing. Gata of Atonement will be, it's on the screen, okay. All harmful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All harmful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All harmful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Please be seated. If you have a chant book, please turn to page 20. Today we'll be chanting the Heart Sutra in Sino-Japanese.
Wait.
The Dharma of thusness is intimately transmitted by Buddhas and ancestors. Now you have it, serve it well. It's silver bowl filled with snow, a heron hidden in the moon, taken as similar. They are not the same, not distinguished. Their places are known. The meaning does not reside in the words, but the pivotal moment brings it forth. Move and you are trapped, miss and you fall into doubt and vacillation. Turning away and touching are both wrong, for it is like massive fire just to portray it. Literary form is to stain it with defilement. In darkest night it is perfectly clear. In the light of dawn it is hidden. It is a standard for all things. Its use removes all suffering. Though it is not constructed, it is not beyond words. Facing a precious mirror, form and reflection behold each other. You are not it, but in truth it is you. Like a newborn child, it is fully endowed with the five aspects. No going, no coming, no arising, no abiding. A baby babbles, is anything said or not? In the end it says nothing, for the words are not yet right. In the illumination, hexagram apparent and real interact together. They become free. The permutations make five, like the taste of the five flavored herb, like the five-pronged raja, wondrously embraced within the real drumming and singing. Begin together, penetrate the source and travel the highways, embody the territory and treasure the road. You would do well to respect this, do not neglect it. Natural and wondrous, it is not a matter of delusion or enlightenment. Within causes and conditions, time and season, it is serene and illuminating. So minute it enters where there is no gap. So vast it transcends all dimensions. Just a hair's breadth deviation, and you are out of tune. Now there are sudden and gradual, so teachings and approaches arise. With these matters distinguished, each has its standard, mastered or not. Reality constantly flows outside still and inside trembling, like tethered colts or cowering rats. The ancient sages grieve for them and offer them the Dharma, but other inverted views, they take black for white when ununited things thusly affirming mind naturally accords. If you want to follow in the ancient tracks, please observe the sages of the past. One on the verge of realizing the Buddha way contemplated a tree for 10 long kalpas, like a battle start tiger, like a horse with shucks gone gray, because some are vulgar, jeweled tables and ornate rows, because some are wide-eyed cats and white oxen. With a great archer's skill, one can hit the mark at 100 yards, but arrows meeting head on, how could it be a matter of skill? Wooden man starts to sing, stone woman gets up dancing. It is not reached by feelings or consciousness. How could it involve deliberation? Ministers serve their Lord's children, obey their parents. Obeying is not filial, failure to serve is no help. With practice it functions secretly, like a fool, like an idiot. Just to do this continuously, it's called the host within the host. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here and now, in reciting the heart of great perfect wisdom and the precious mirror samadhi, we dedicate their merits to Prajnaparamita, mother of all Buddhas, and to Prajnaparamita Dayosho, Mahahaya Dayosho, Ratavati Dayosho, Srimala Dayosho, Nagadeva Dayosho, Prajnabhuta Dayosho, Great Teacher Mahapati, Great Teacher Kema, Great Teacher Punika, Great Teacher Patachara, Great Teacher Bada, Great Teacher Damadina, Great Teacher Sumana, Great Teacher Kisagotami, Great Teacher Suba, Great Teacher Dhamma, Great Teacher Sukha, Great Teacher Upalavana, Great Teacher Zengshi, Great Teacher Shiji, Great Teacher Ling Xiangao, Great Teacher Lun Chao, Great Teacher Li Dongxiao, Great Teacher Mo Shan Miao Ran, Great Teacher Miao Xin, Great Teacher Wei Guan, Great Teacher Wei Wei, Great Teacher Fa Den, Great Teacher Gung Shu Dao Ring, Great Teacher Wen Jiao, Great Teacher Yu Dao Po, Great Teacher Miao Dao, Great Teacher Xin Xin, Great Teacher Ko Miao, Great Teacher Shui Xin, Great Teacher Ronin, Great Teacher Shogaku, Great Teacher Ehi, Great Teacher Muga Nyodai, Great Teacher Kakuzan Shido, Great Teacher Eitan Vaishu, Great Teacher Mushoten Kan, Great Teacher Koto Kekyu, Great Teacher Mokufu Sonin, Great Teacher Shotaku, Great Teacher Yodo, Great Teacher Eishun, Great Teacher Daisu Bunchi, Great Teacher Ronin Gensho, Great Teacher Teijitsu, Great Teacher Chashi, Great Teacher Tenmyo Jorin, Great Teacher Nagasawa Sonen, Great Teacher Kendo Myotai, Great Teacher Yoshida Eishan, Great Teacher Eru Joke, Great Teacher Myoan, Great Teacher Genshin Yoko, Great Teacher Hoan Jiu, Great Teacher Jikoen, Great Teacher Zinke Hartman, Great Teacher Ayakema. We also offer the merits to teachers in all lineages no longer extant, and to all teachers who died without Dharma errors. We pray that we may be able to show our gratitude to all women of the Dharma in all directions and in the three worlds. May we live our lives in such a way that we honor all those beings, women and men, known and unknown, who gave their lives in the Dharma for our present benefit. May the merit of this awaken the heart of compassion and understanding all over the world, and thereby relieve suffering and ignorance. We pray that all beings may prosper and all misfortunes cease. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajnaparamita. Chant of boundless compassion, absorbing world sounds awakens a Buddha right here. This Buddha, the source of compassion. This Buddha receives only compassion. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just come. Shosaimyo Kichijo Durani. Nomo Sanmanda Motonan Gaurachi Goto San Sonan Toji Toen Gyaki Gyaki Unnen Shifura Shifura Hara Shifura Hara Shifura Chishusa Chishusa Chishuri Chishuri Soaja Soaja Senchi Gyashiri Somoko Nomo Sanmanda Motonan Gaurachi Goto San Sonan Toji Toen Gyaki Gyaki Unnen Shifura Shifura Hara Shifura Hara Shifura Chishusa Chishusa Chishuri Chishuri Soaja Soaja Senchi Gyashiri Somoko Nomo Sanmanda Motonan Gaurachi Goto San Sonan Toji Toen Gyaki Gyaki Unnen Shifura Shifura Hara Shifura Hara Shifura Chishusa Chishusa Chishuri Chishuri Soaja Soaja Senchi Gyashiri Somoko Jizo Shingon Om Kaka Kabisan Mae Soka 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 Absolute light, luminous throughout the whole universe, unfathomable excellence, penetrating everywhere. Whenever these devoted invocations are sent forth, they are perceived and subtly answered. We humbly request the guidance of the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. In chanting the chant of boundless compassion, we offer the merits to all living beings in the Dharma, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Shodo Harada Roshi, Thich Nhat Hanh, Ajahn Sumedho, Pema Chodron, Joan Akric Roshi, Jan Shozen Beis Roshi, and Hogan Beis Roshi. May their vows be fully realized. We offer our blessings to those who are ill or in distress, including Bruce and Kanshin Haro, Eric Mueller, Carrie Cordell, Joan, Chuck McLaughlin, Barbara Grant, Tamara Cahill, Tom Borland, Jim Borland, Liz Finder, Mary Finder, Olive Mueller-Key, Brent Livey, Enoch Terris, Kathleen Culver, Lois Myers, Dee Shoppy, Dell, Carrie, Molly, people worldwide who are suffering from COVID-19, and to all those afflicted by human-made and natural disasters, all people who experience abuse, domestic violence, and homelessness, all beings affected by climate change, all elders without a voice, and all refugees fleeing violence, famine, and persecution. May they be freed from suffering and serene through all their ills. We pray that those who help to guide our city, county, state, and nation and world will be endowed with clear wisdom and compassion. May our countries be led with clarity and kindness. We also offer our blessings to those in the transition of death, including Maggie Land, Steve Miyamoto, Ray Powell, Hart the Dog, Ricky Apollo, Chris Moluli, Lisa Fraser, Donna Osborne, people who lost their lives in the floods in Louisiana and New York, the takeover in Afghanistan, the earthquake in Haiti, and the Delta variant surge, the 23 species declared extinct by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. May we and they be serene through these transitions. May we aspire to turn the Dharma wheel unceasingly to free the world from every tragedy of violence, epidemic, natural disaster, and starvation as we accomplish the awakened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Maha. Please rise for 3 vows. Paramita. Bowing to Buddha, bowing to Sangha. Mushin, would you like to have any round of sharing of any kind?
No, I just want to wish everyone well. Take good care of yourself.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.